My daughter-in-law declared my cooking was so bad it couldn't be eaten. So, I just grinned and decided to sell the apartment they'd been living in for free. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment letting me know where you're tuning in from. Also, what's the time where you are? I'm curious to see how far this tale spreads. For 32 years, I'd played the role of devoted wife, loving mom, and flawless hostess. But that evening, as we sat in our Boston dining room, Cassandra locked eyes with me and said, "Amelia, seriously, how does anyone choke down this food? I can't believe Ethan made it through childhood eating like this." Her words cut through the air like a sharp knife. The room went quiet, every gaze fixed on me. I stood there, still clutching the roast I'd slaved over all day, unable to move. My husband, William, married to me for over 3 decades, just let out a sigh and kept chewing, staring at his plate. Our son Ethan, 29 years old, squirmed in his seat but stayed silent. The tension hung heavy, like a storm about to break. I fought back tears and forced a small, strained smile. "Maybe you'd rather order takeout next time," I said softly, my voice barely audible. "That's a great plan," Cassandra shot back, glancing at Ethan. "Then we won't have to fake enjoying your meals." William coughed and switched topics, acting like nothing had happened. Just another typical night at the Harper house. As I brought out dessert, my eyes wandered to the framed pictures on the dining room wall. One captured a younger me at Boston Art University, back when I was a student with big dreams, before I left to marry William. My professors used to say I had real talent. I haven't touched a paintbrush in 28 years. My gaze settled on another frame, the deed to a downtown Boston apartment, a gift from my dad for my birthday, still in my name even after all these years, the same place Ethan and Cassandra had been living in, rent-free, for 2 years. Later that night, after everyone had gone, I stood in the kitchen, scrubbing dishes with more force than needed. My reflection in the window caught my eye, a tired woman with empty eyes and sagging shoulders. When did I fade away? When did I turn into this shadow, living only for others? The phone rang, pulling me out of my thoughts. It was Ethan. "Hey, Mom, Cassandra and I were hoping we could use your credit card for some new furniture. We'll pay you back next month, promise." Just like the loans they'd sworn to repay for years. Just like their short-term stay in my apartment that had dragged on for 2 years. Something inside me broke. "No," I said, the word feeling strange on my tongue. "What?" Ethan sounded stunned. I said no, Ethan. My voice grew firmer, more certain. There was a pause, then irritation. "Is this because of Cassandra's comment? She was just being real with you. You're always so touchy." I ended the call without another word. My hands trembled, but not from fear. For the first time in years, I felt a spark of something bold, something that felt a lot like strength. As I flicked off the kitchen light, my eyes landed on the framed deed again. My apartment, my property, mine. I grabbed my phone and scrolled until I found Benjamin Foster, my lawyer. The morning after Cassandra's jab, I sat at our kitchen island, staring into my coffee while William shuffled around. "You got the wrong coffee brand again," he muttered, not even glancing my way. "They didn't have your usual at the store," I replied. "Could you just try harder next time? Is that too much to ask?" These little digs were the background noise of our marriage. His annoyed sighs when I spoke, his eyes glued to his phone during our talks, his endless corrections. Somewhere along the line, I'd started believing I earned them. After William left, I sat in the quiet of our empty home. My phone pinged with a text from Benjamin Foster, confirming our meeting. I hadn't slept, second-guessing my sudden courage. Now, doubts started creeping in. Was I blowing this out of proportion? Was it worth turning everything upside down over a hurt ego? But it wasn't just one remark. It was years of being worn down, of fading into the background of my own life. That afternoon, I stopped by Ethan and Cassandra's place without warning. I still had a key, though I always called first, a courtesy they never bothered with. The apartment was empty when I got there. Standing in their living room, I noticed how much it had changed since I inherited it. Cassandra had redone everything, erasing any trace of me. On their coffee table, I spotted a stack of unopened bills labeled "Final Notice, Big Credit Card Debts." Digging further, I found more: missed payments on Ethan's fancy new car, an expensive watch bought on credit. I was about to head out when I heard keys at the door. Ethan froze when he saw me. "Mom, why are you here?" "Just passing through the area," I said, nodding toward the bills. "Everything okay with your finances?" His expression turned cold. "We've got it under control." "Not everything's your concern." "It might be my concern if you're struggling while living in my apartment." His eyes narrowed. "So this is about Cassandra hurting your feelings?" "Wow, Mom, grow up." His harshness hit me like a slap. This wasn't my kind, loving boy. This was someone else entirely. "I raised you to be better than this," I whispered. "You raised me to be a doormat, just like you," he fired back. Good thing Cassandra showed me otherwise. I walked out without saying another word, my heart shattering. Driving home, I passed the Boston Art University campus and, on a whim, pulled into the visitor lot. I watched students stroll across the quad, carrying portfolios and easels, young folks with dreams still alive, not yet traded away to meet others' expectations. When I turned the key in the ignition, my mind was set. My meeting with Benjamin Foster tomorrow wouldn't be just talk. It would mark the start of taking my life back, beginning with that apartment. Ethan was right about one thing: Cassandra had opened his eyes to something. And, without meaning to, she'd done the same for me. 2 weeks after that awful dinner, I threw a surprise birthday bash for Ethan. He's still my son, despite everything, and I hoped a kind gesture might mend things between us. I poured days into planning, cooking his favorite dishes, decorating, even buying an expensive watch he'd had his eye on. William promised he'd show up but bailed at the last second. When Ethan and Cassandra walked in, the surprise seemed to land. Ethan looked genuinely moved. Cassandra flashed a big smile and gushed about my decorations. Halfway through the party, I stepped into the kitchen to check on the cake and overheard Cassandra's voice from around the corner. "How do you put up with these weekly visits?" her friend Natalie asked. Cassandra laughed. "It's the cost of a free apartment. Amelia's so eager for approval, she's easy to play. Did you see the gift? Exactly what I told her to get, and she doesn't even realize she's being used." I stood there, gripping the doorframe, my heart pounding. For the rest of the night, I drifted through the party in a fog. When Cassandra tossed another jab about my cooking, something inside me finally broke. "If my food's not to your taste, maybe you should cook in your own place," I said softly but firmly. Cassandra pounced, making a scene. "Amelia, I'm stunned by your attitude." "Ethan, is your mom okay? She seems a bit unhinged." Ethan pulled me aside. "Mom, what's wrong with you? You're making everyone uneasy." Cassandra was just teasing about the food. I looked at my son and saw someone I didn't recognize. When did he become this person who defends someone mocking his own mother? The party fizzled out early. After everyone left, I sat alone in the kitchen, surrounded by dirty plates and uneaten food. My phone lit up with a text from Ethan. "We need to discuss how you acted tonight. Cassandra's really upset." I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and pulled up the property management site for my downtown apartment, the one Ethan and Cassandra lived in rent-free while sporting new cars and fancy watches. The next morning, another text came through: "Mom, Cassandra and I are worried about you. Have you thought about seeing someone? These mood swings aren't normal." Mood swings? Standing up for myself once after years of biting my tongue was hardly a mood swing. I called Laura, the one friend I still felt I could count on. "Laura, do I seem like I'm having mood swings?" After a tense pause, she said, "Amelia, there's something you need to know. Cassandra's been talking to people. She's saying some troubling things about you." "Like what?" I asked, my stomach sinking. She's telling folks you're showing early signs of dementia. That you're acting unstable and aggressive. Laura paused again. And she's hinting you're having an affair with Samuel, the guy across the street. Samuel, the widower whose garden I helped tend since his wife Clara passed. The idea was ridiculous. She's shown people texts she claims are between you and Samuel, Laura went on. And she's got photos of you two in his garden, edited to look like something's going on. As Laura spoke, it all clicked, Ethan's talk of mood swings, the hushed conversations that stopped when I walked in. Cassandra wasn't just throwing insults at dinner. She was tearing down my reputation, piece by piece. When I hung up, my hands were steady, replaced by a fierce determination I'd never felt before. I grabbed my phone and called Benjamin Foster. Benjamin, I'm ready to sell the apartment. Let's do it now. In the days after Laura's bombshell, I noticed people treating me differently. Friends stopped returning my calls. Margaret, my lunch buddy of 18 years, canceled our weekly meetup. Even my sister sounded off on the phone. Then Laura showed up at my door. Amelia, there's more you need to know. It's worse than I thought. Over tea, Laura laid out the full scope of Cassandra's smear campaign. Not only was she spreading lies about dementia, but she was fabricating proof of an affair with Samuel. She's shown people fake text messages between you two, Laura said. And she's got photos of you chatting in his garden, doctored to look compromising. Doctored photos, fake texts, that's not just mean, it's illegal. She's using her legal know-how cleverly, Laura said, her voice grim. She's built just enough evidence to make people question you without going too far. That night, I confronted William about the rumors. His response said it all. This isn't the first time people have wondered about your loyalty, Amelia, he said, his voice sharp with anger. And you have been spending a lot of time with Mr. Wright lately. I help with his garden because Clara died, I said, my voice rising in disbelief. Like that time you got cozy with your buddy from that painting class 5 years ago, William snapped. Those late-night texts weren't about brushstrokes, were they? His accusations hit me like a punch to the gut. That painting class, my one shot at rediscovering my lost passion, ended because of William's baseless jealousy, forcing me to give it up. I tried calling Ethan that night, but he didn't pick up. When he finally called back the next day, his tone was icy. Cassandra showed me everything, Mom. The texts, the pictures. You need to see a doctor. The gossip spread like a brush fire. At the grocery store, I caught women murmuring, that's Amelia Harper, the one sneaking around with the widower next door. My world was crumbling. William packed his bags and moved out the next week. Divorce papers showed up soon after. In the middle of this mess, Samuel Wright knocked on my door. Amelia, folks in the neighborhood are talking about us. I invited him inside, knowing full well the neighbors' curtains were twitching as they watched. I'm aware, I said once we were in the living room. My daughter-in-law's behind the rumors. But what's her angle? Samuel asked, genuinely puzzled. Power, I replied after a moment. And my downtown apartment. Samuel nodded slowly. Clara always said never to underestimate someone who gains from your ruin. He reached over, gave my hand a quick squeeze. I've got your back, whatever you need. As he left, I spotted Mrs. Larson snapping photos from her window across the street. Hours later, Ethan texted, this is what we mean. Have you no shame? That night, I spread out all my financial papers on the dining table, credit card statements showing loans to Ethan that were never paid back, property tax bills for the apartment, the deeds still in my name alone. I'd spent my whole adult life being the perfect wife, the doting mom, the always agreeable friend, and now I was branded as crazy, cheating, and untrustworthy. As the sun rose, I made 2 phone calls. First to Victoria Sullivan, the toughest real estate agent in Boston. Then to Nathaniel Brooks, a lawyer who specialized in defamation and tampering with digital evidence. It was time to do more than change the locks. 2 months later, with divorce proceedings in motion, I was drowning in loneliness. William had moved closer to his office. Ethan refused my calls. The social isolation hurt almost as much as the divorce. My reputation was in tatters. At the garden club I'd been part of for 12 years, people stopped talking when I walked up. My hairdresser of 8 years was suddenly booked every time I called. Amelia's going through something, I overheard a woman whisper at the coffee shop. William found texts on her phone with that widower next door. Every trip outside felt like a gauntlet. I started getting groceries delivered. I switched to a new church. Slowly, my world shrank to the walls of my too big, too quiet house. Through Laura, I learned Cassandra was still pushing the story of the unhinged mother-in-law, now claiming I was trying to wreck Ethan's marriage out of jealousy. Nathaniel Brooks, the lawyer I'd hired to dig into Cassandra's lies, called with news. "Mrs. Harper, we've confirmed the text messages were faked. The metadata doesn't line up, and the photo edits are obvious. This is criminal evidence tampering. What's our next step?" I asked. "We've got a strong case against her. As a lawyer herself, this could ruin her career." I thought about what that would mean. Going to court would clear my name publicly, but it might destroy any chance of fixing things with Ethan. He was still my son, no matter what. "Let's wait," I said. "Keep gathering evidence, but hold off on filing." Desperate to reach out, I showed up at Ethan and Cassandra's apartment one evening without warning. Cassandra was hosting a dinner party, and her face froze before twisting into a smug smile. "Amelia, what a surprise. You really should have called." Her tone tipped off her guests. She leaned in to whisper to those nearby, "My ex-mother-in-law. The divorce has taken a toll. Ethan's not here. He's working late," she added. The humiliation stung deeper when a guest offered to call me an Uber, as if I couldn't manage on my own. As I turned to leave, I spotted a document on their side table, a valuation form for my downtown apartment. That night, lying in bed staring at the ceiling, I realized I couldn't keep playing the victim in my own story. That apartment, my apartment, was my way to take back control. "I've booked a neurologist appointment," I told Laura over coffee the next morning. "Amelia, you don't have dementia. Don't let them make you doubt yourself." "I know," I said, my voice steady. "That's why I'm going. I need proof of my mental health for what's coming." Benjamin Foster, my attorney, had suggested this move. "If they're calling you unstable, we need to counter it," he'd said. "Medical records will be key if they challenge your right to sell the property." Dr. Evelyn Zhang, the neurologist, was kind and thorough. After running tests, she said, "Mrs. Harper, your mind is sharp as a tack. There's no sign of dementia or any cognitive issues." With Dr. Zhang's report in hand, I pushed forward with my plan. Victoria Sullivan, my real estate agent, confirmed what I'd guessed. Boston's housing market was on fire, and my apartment's prime spot made it worth a fortune. "We need to list it right away," she urged. "Places like this get snapped up fast." The morning after my tense talk with William, I met Benjamin Foster at his sleek downtown law office. "You're looking worn out, Amelia," he said, eyeing my gaunt face and thinner frame. "Is William playing fair in the divorce talks?" I let out a heavy sigh. "As fair as he can, considering he's convinced I betrayed him." I laid out the whole mess, Cassandra's fake evidence, Ethan's disloyalty, and the property valuation form I'd spotted at their place. Benjamin's brow furrowed. "You think they're scheming to buy the apartment from you?" "No, I think they're trying to convince William I'm too unstable to handle my own money, so he can take control of it in the divorce. The apartment would end up in the settlement." After reviewing my paperwork, Benjamin reassured me that the apartment was still solely mine. "They can't touch it without your say-so," he said. "You're free to sell it if you want. You just need to give the current tenants legal notice, but as the owner, you call the shots." Driving home, I passed the apartment building and stared at its stately front. I paused, thinking of Ethan. He was still my son, despite everything. Selling the place might cut one of the last ties between us. But then I remembered the unanswered texts, the ignored calls, the way he stood by Cassandra while she tore my reputation apart with lies. My son had picked his side, and it wasn't mine. That night, I made up my mind. Tomorrow, I'd get in touch with a realtor. The next morning, my doorbell chimed. I opened it to find Samuel Wright standing there. Amelia, I thought you should know, Cassandra paid me a visit yesterday. What did she want? I asked, my stomach tightening. She asked if I'd testify about our relationship, he said, using air quotes. She hinted it'd be better for me if I went along with their story. Blackmail? I said, feeling nauseous. Not outright, but the message was clear. He paused. I told her I'd gladly testify that you're just a kind neighbor who helps with my garden, nothing more. I also mentioned my security cameras have recorded every moment we've spent in my yard. A wave of relief hit me. You have cameras? Put them up after Clara's jewelry went missing last year, he explained. They show nothing but friendly chats between us. I offered to share the footage with Cassandra. She bolted pretty quick after that. For the first time in months, I let out a real laugh, one that felt strange but good. After Samuel left, I called Victoria Sullivan to set up our first meeting. Then I rang Dr. Zhang's office to request extra copies of my neurological evaluation. Finally, I contacted my bank to start moving my accounts to a new one, far from William or Ethan's reach. That evening, I dug out an old box from the back of my closet, my art supplies, untouched for years. The brushes were stiff, the paints dried up, but holding them felt like greeting an old friend. I ordered fresh supplies online and set up a small easel in what used to be William's study. While clearing out his leftover things from the desk, I found a photo tucked inside a book, William and me on our honeymoon in Rome. I looked at the young woman in the picture, eyes sparkling, full of hope and plans. Where had she gone? I set the photo down and made a quiet vow. When this was all over, I'd go to Italy. Not as William's wife or Ethan's mom, but as Amelia Harper, artist, traveler, a woman taking her life back. I didn't rush into anything. With steady resolve, I laid out a careful plan. First, I hired Victoria Sullivan, a top-notch realtor known for handling high-end Boston properties. I need this kept quiet, I told her. The tenants can't know it's for sale until it's absolutely necessary. Victoria nodded. We'll only show it to serious, pre-approved buyers. She appraised the apartment at a value much higher than I'd expected, thanks to Boston's sizzling market and its perfect location. On Benjamin's advice, I took steps to prove my mental and financial competence. I saw a therapist and neurologist, collecting reports that confirmed my sharp mind. I also gathered records of all the messages Ethan and Cassandra ignored, plus proof of the lies Cassandra was spreading. Meanwhile, I started reorganizing my life. I changed all my passwords. I updated my will, removing Ethan as the main beneficiary and adding a condition that he'd only inherit if he completed a financial counseling program. I moved my money to a new bank account at a different institution. As the divorce moved forward, William, convinced I'd cheated, was surprisingly fair, probably out of guilt for buying the lies about me so easily. I accepted the settlement, knowing the apartment sale would give me the financial freedom I needed. Over coffee with Laura, my one true friend, she noticed a shift in me. You seem different, Amelia, she said, peering at me over her mug. I'm starting to feel like myself again, I told Laura. Beneath the hurt, a quiet determination was taking root. For the first time in years, I was making choices for me, not to keep William or Ethan happy. 2 weeks later, Victoria called with exciting news. I've got a couple who's very eager, a surgeon from Mass General and a university professor. They're ready to offer above asking price if they can tour the apartment this week. I took a deep breath. Set it up, Victoria. It's time to take control. The viewing was planned for a Wednesday, when Cassandra usually stayed late at her law firm. I picked that time on purpose to avoid any drama. Victoria would handle the showing while Ethan and Cassandra were out, but life had other ideas. A court case got cancelled, and Cassandra came home early. I was parked around the corner, insisting on being nearby just in case. My phone buzzed. It was Victoria. Mrs. Harper, we've got a problem. Mrs. Blake showed up during the viewing. My heart pounded. What went down? She was furious. The Zhangs left in a hurry, but they're still interested. Just thought you should know, Mrs. Blake is calling your son. Right on cue, my phone lit up with Ethan's name. I ignored it, but it kept ringing, one call after another. After the fifth in 2 minutes, I finally picked up. What are you doing, Mom? Ethan shouted, so loud I had to pull the phone away. Selling my property, I said, surprised by how calm I sounded. That's our home. We live there. It's my apartment, which I've let you use rent-free for 2 years, I replied. After how you've treated me lately, I'm done with that arrangement. You've got 45 days to find somewhere else. You can't do this. Ethan's voice cracked. We can't afford anything else around here. You should have thought of that before letting your wife ruin my reputation and my marriage, I said, my voice steady even though my hands shook. Choices have consequences, Ethan. Mom, please, we'll pay rent. Whatever you want. His desperation tugged at my heart. This was my son, my only child. It's too late, I said after a pause. The Zhangs made a great offer, and I'm taking it. When I hung up, tears rolled down my face. This wasn't how I wanted things to go. I never meant to hurt my son. But as I wiped my eyes and started the car, a truth hit me. For too long, I'd put Ethan's feelings above my own well-being. That was over. Over the next 3 weeks, the sale moved forward smoothly. The Zhangs, eager to lock in the property before the fall semester, fast-tracked their financing and paperwork. Victoria handled the deal like a pro, while Benjamin made sure every legal detail was airtight. Cassandra and Ethan tried to stall the sale, but their efforts fell flat. Their lawyer sent a letter claiming I'd made verbal promises of long-term housing, but Benjamin shut it down with emails from 2 years ago, clearly stating the setup was temporary. Laura filled me in on their struggles. They're telling people they're moving to Medford for more space, she said over our weekly coffee. But everyone knows they're scrambling to find something affordable in Boston's crazy market. Their finances, despite their flashy lifestyle, were apparently a mess. During this time, Ethan and Cassandra bombarded me with messages, shifting from rage, "How could you do this to your own son?" to bargaining, "We'll pay full rent," to begging, "We've got nowhere to go." I stayed calm and detached, only replying with practical details about moving deadlines and legal requirements. 2 days before the closing, I got a surprise visitor, Cassandra, standing on my doorstep, looking far from the poised, smug woman who'd mocked my cooking months ago. "We need to talk, Amelia," she said, her usual sharpness dulled. I let her in but stayed standing, not in the mood for a cozy chat. "What's this about?" "This has gone too far," she said, trying to sound commanding. "You've made your point. Hurting Ethan to get back at me isn't fair." "I'm selling my property," I said evenly. "It's my right." "Look, I'm sorry about that dinner comment. I went too far, but this reaction is way out of line." Her nerve left me speechless for a moment. "This isn't about one rude remark, Cassandra. It's about the calculated campaign you waged to trash my reputation and wreck my marriage. It's about the lies you fed my son, my friends, and my community." Cassandra squirmed for a moment before regaining her composure. "Those were just misunderstandings," she started to say. I cut her off. "I've got copies of the doctored photos, plus statements from people you showed fake texts to. Samuel Wright's security cameras caught every moment we've spent in his garden. My lawyer, Nathaniel Brooks, confirmed the texts were fabricated through metadata analysis." "Should I keep going?" Her face went pale. "You wouldn't dare take this to court." "Oh, I would," I said firmly. "Faking evidence is a serious crime, Cassandra, especially for a lawyer. The Bar Association doesn't look kindly on that kind of ethical breach." For once, she had no comeback, staring at me in silence. "I'm not looking for an apology," I went on. "I don't even want one from you." All I want is for this sale to go smoothly, for you and Ethan to move out by the agreed date, and for us to never have this talk again. Amelia, please, she whispered, her voice softer now. Ethan doesn't deserve this. He loves that apartment. Ethan made his choice when he believed your lies over the trust we'd built his whole life, I said, my voice steady despite the ache inside. He chose you, Cassandra. Now he has to live with that, just not in my apartment. After she left, a quiet grief settled over me, not just for the broken bond with my son, but for the woman I used to be, the one who'd have forgiven anything to keep the peace, who'd have sacrificed her own self-respect for family harmony. That night, I started planning my trip to Italy, set to begin the day after the apartment sale closed. The timing was intentional. I wanted to be far away when Ethan and Cassandra moved out of reach for any last-ditch pleas or guilt trips. The apartment sale wrapped up with surprising speed. The Zhang's cash offer cut through the usual financing delays, and within 5 weeks of accepting their bid, all the paperwork was signed, and the closing date was locked in. What could have taken months was done in half the time. On the morning of the closing, I sat in Benjamin's office, signing the final documents, a mix of emotions swirling inside, relief, sorrow, victory, and loss. That apartment had meant so much, my dad's belief in me, my independence during my marriage, and now, the tool to take my life back. Congrats, Amelia, Benjamin said as I signed the last page. What's next for you? Italy, I answered, a small smile creeping onto my face. Florence, Rome, Tuscany, places I studied in art school but never got to see. He nodded with a grin. Traveling solo is one of life's best adventures. When do you head out? Tomorrow morning, first class, I said. It felt extravagant, but the woman buying that ticket wasn't the same one who'd sat through Cassandra's insult at dinner 5 months ago. As I left Benjamin's office, my phone pinged with a text from Laura. Ethan stopped by asking for your new address. I said I didn't know it. Call me. I found a cozy cafe and dialed Laura right away. He seemed frantic, she told me. He said Cassandra moved some of her stuff to Gregory Holt's place last night. Sounds like they've been involved for months. The news didn't shock me. Cassandra was always calculating, and a senior partner at her law firm was a big step up from my schoolteacher's son. How was Ethan holding up? I asked, still caring despite everything. Devastated, blindsided, Laura said. He mentioned finding texts on her phone weeks ago but didn't want to believe it. There it was, the complete collapse of the life Ethan chose over me. I didn't take joy in his pain, but there was a kind of poetic justice in it. He'd bought Cassandra's lies about me, and now he had to face her lies to him. That evening, as I packed for Italy, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Ethan, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Can I come in, Mom? He asked, his voice rough. I stepped aside quietly, letting him into the house where he'd grown up. We sat at the kitchen table, once the heart of our family, now feeling like a neutral zone. Cassandra's been cheating, he said bluntly. With Gregory Holt, her boss. I nodded. I'm sorry, Ethan. Did you know? I had my suspicions, I admitted. She's always been ambitious. He stared at his hands, clasped tightly on the table. I found messages on her phone weeks ago, but I told myself I was reading them wrong. He looked up, eyes red and tired. I did to myself what I did to you, chose to believe what was easier instead of what was true. Ethan's words lingered in the quiet between us. I didn't offer forgiveness or point out his mistakes, I let him sit with the weight of his realization. I should have believed you, he went on. After everything you've done for me, all those years, how could I choose her lies over you? That's something you'll have to figure out on your own, Ethan, I said softly. He nodded, his expression heavy. I've been turning it over in my head non-stop. I think I wanted to believe I deserved the life she dangled in front of me, the connections, the status, the way her crowd looked at me. It was easier to blame you than to question whether I'd earned any of it. I appreciate you saying that, I replied after a moment. So where do we go now? He asked, his voice raw with vulnerability. I studied my son, the boy I'd raised, the man he'd become, and the person he might still grow into through this hard lesson? I'm not sure, Ethan. I can't answer that tonight. As he got up to leave, he spotted my suitcase by the door. You headed somewhere? Italy, for a month. I leave tomorrow. Italy, he echoed, a spark of memory in his eyes. Like you used to talk about when I was a kid. That he remembered those old dreams, ones I'd shelved for family, tugged at my heart. Yeah, I said. Just like that. My month in Italy changed me in ways I never saw coming. I expected to love the art, the buildings, the food, and I did, more than I can say. But I didn't expect how the distance would sharpen my view of the past year. In Florence, standing in front of Botticelli's paintings, I felt a spark inside me, a passion I'd buried for decades. I bought watercolors and started sketching Tuscany's rolling hills, spending hours in sunny piazzas. My first attempts were clumsy, but each day I got a little better as my college art skills slowly came back. While I soaked up Italy's beauty, life back in Boston marched on. Laura's occasional emails kept me updated. Ethan and Cassandra's divorce was moving fast. The apartment sale had forced them to downsize, Ethan to a modest place in Medford, Cassandra to her new boyfriend Gregory Holt's fancy condo. No one's missing the irony, Laura wrote. Cassandra's social climbing landed her with her boss. It's all anyone talks about at the garden club. I was surprised to find I didn't care much about the gossip. From 3,000 miles away, the social world that once defined my value felt small compared to the vibrant life I was discovering. In my third week in Italy, I got an unexpected email from William. Laura had given him my contact info, apparently thinking he deserved a chance to reach out. Amelia, he wrote, I owe you a huge apology. Ethan told me about Cassandra's lies. After 32 years together, I should have trusted you. The evidence seemed so real, but that's no excuse. I should have given you the benefit of the doubt. I've also been reflecting on our marriage and how I treated you even before this mess. I wasn't the husband you deserved, and I'm sorry for that too. His words, coming after months of feeling so alone, brought tears I didn't expect, not because I wanted him back, that door was closed, but because being seen as truthful after being called a liar meant something. I wrote back, thanking him for his apology and wishing him well, but I made it clear there was no going back. Some things stay broken, and our marriage was one of them. On my final day in Florence, I stopped by a small gallery near my hotel. The owner, a graceful Italian woman named Isabella, had seen me sketching at a nearby cafe and invited me to see her collection. As we chatted in my shaky college Italian, she asked to look at my sketches. These have heart, she said, leafing through my simple watercolors. The technique isn't perfect, but the emotion is real. That's something you can't teach. Her kindness touched me, but I brushed off the praise. I'm just a tourist dabbling in art. Isabella shook her head. No, you're an artist who's been away from your true self. There's a big difference. When I got back to Boston in the fall of 2024, the city felt different, not because it had changed, but because I had. I moved through my days with a new sense of purpose, turning William's old study into a real art studio. I signed up for a painting class at the community college, taking my place among beginners, even though I was at least 15 years older than everyone else. My teacher, Daniel, a warm man in his 40s, took a shine to my work. You've got a unique way of seeing things, he told me one evening after class. Most new students obsess over technique, but your paintings already have a voice. Where did you study before? Boston Art University, a lifetime ago, I said. I left 38 years back to get married. Something in my voice must have hinted at more, because he nodded knowingly. Art has a way of waiting for you to come back. The years away aren't lost, they're part of what you bring to the canvas. The months that followed brought seismic shifts. Cassandra's carefully built image fell apart in a spectacular crash. Her fling with Gregory Holt fizzled out after just 2 months when he traded her for an even younger colleague. Boston's legal world, once impressed by her, now buzzed with whispers about her shady tactics. Somehow, word of her evidence tampering had spread, though I never pressed charges. Ethan's divorce wrapped up quickly. Without the apartment or Cassandra's income, he had to tighten his belt big time. He picked up a second job tutoring night classes and moved to a tiny place farther from downtown. The struggle seemed to reshape him, peeling away his sense of entitlement and forcing him to face his role in the mess. Our path to reconciliation was slow and cautious, like stepping onto thin ice. We started with occasional phone calls, then met for coffee in neutral spots. At first, our talks were stilted, filled with awkward pauses and tiptoeing around sore subjects. Bit by bit, we got more honest. I was so caught up in keeping Cassandra happy that I couldn't see the truth, Ethan admitted during one of our meetups. It was easier to think you were the problem than to admit she was playing me. I owned up to my part too. I made it too easy for you to lean on me, I said. I was so scared of losing you that I never set clear boundaries or held you accountable. Each talk peeled back another layer of pain, exposing the messy roots of our fractured bond. There were hiccups, moments when Ethan slipped into expecting me to bend over backward, or when I almost fell back into my old role as the self-sacrificing mom. But we caught ourselves, learning to connect as equals instead of repeating old patterns. Meanwhile, my art kept pulling me forward. The community college classes had helped me rebuild my skills, but I found myself craving bolder, more experimental styles. I signed up for an advanced workshop at the Boston Art Museum, where I was decades older than my classmates but soon stood out for my heartfelt watercolors. My teacher, Sophia Ramirez, took a special interest in my progress. Your life's experiences give your work a depth my younger students can't touch, she said after reviewing a raw piece I'd painted about that life-changing dinner. You've lived enough to know beauty and pain go hand in hand. As winter blanketed Boston in 2024, I got thrilling news. Victoria Sullivan's friend, Elise Morgan, who ran a small gallery on Newbury Street, was curating a show for late bloomers, artists who found or rediscovered their craft after 50. Victoria had shared my story in watercolors, and Elise wanted to feature me. I nearly dropped the phone. My watercolors? But I'm just starting over. They're not good enough for a gallery. Elise thinks otherwise, Victoria said. She saw those pieces in your hallway when we were staging your house. She said they're full of real emotion. Her words echoed Isabella's from Florence, making me pause. I'd need to create new, stronger work. You've got 3 months, Victoria told me. The show opens in January 2025. During this time, William reached out again. We met for coffee, our first in-person talk since the divorce was finalized. He looked different, older, humbler, more reflective. You seem different, Amelia, he said, studying me across the table. There's a new light in you. There is, I said simply. He nodded, picking up on what I didn't say. I've been seeing a therapist, he admitted, trying to figure out why I was so quick to believe the worst about you after 32 years. What did you figure out? I asked, genuinely curious. I was always scared you'd outshine me, he said, his voice raw. When we met, you were this vibrant, creative woman with so much potential. Deep down, I worried that if you fully embraced that, you'd realize you didn't need me. His words hit close to home. So you preferred me dimmed, more dependent. Not on purpose, he sighed. But yeah, that's what it amounted to. I'm not proud of it. As we talked, William brought up my upcoming gallery show. I'd like to come, if that's okay with you, he said. It wouldn't feel right to miss it. I thought it over. You can come, but you need to know it's not a door to getting back together. That part of my life is over, William. I get it, he said softly. I just want to see what you've created, to cheer you on in this new chapter, even if I'm not in it. Walking home, I felt a strange sense of closure. The anger and pain that had gripped me for months had softened, not into forgiveness exactly, but into a calm detachment. William belonged to my past, not my future. And that felt exactly right. A year after that dinner when Cassandra sneered at my cooking, I'm a different woman, not in how I look, but in the confidence and strength I carry. At 58, I've uncovered a version of myself I never knew was there. My painting studio, once William's office, is now my haven. After my first exhibition in January 2025, which went better than I ever dreamed, my work's starting to turn heads in Boston's art scene. I'm gearing up for a solo show, splitting my days between creating new pieces and teaching a watercolor class for beginners at the community center, where I love helping others, especially those who, like me, put their creative dreams on hold for family. Ethan, now divorced and living a simpler life, has grown into someone I truly enjoy, not just as my son, but as a thoughtful person. Our weekly dinners feel like a joy, not a chore. He started dating again, a kindergarten teacher named Lily, who seems warm and real in a way that's refreshing. On a chilly spring morning in 2025, I find a thick cream envelope in my mail, an invitation to Cassandra and Gregory Holt's wedding. I chuckle at the irony and her obvious attempt to flaunt her success despite everything. That same day, William calls, asking if we could have dinner. "There's something important I want to talk about," he says, and I can tell he's still holding out hope for us to get back together. Sipping tea in my garden, I think about these two messages, both pulling me toward my past. Cassandra's invitation, a reminder of the humiliation I endured. William's call, a chance to slip back into the familiar comfort of being his wife. When Ethan comes over for our weekly dinner, he spots the wedding invitation on the counter and says he got one too. "You going?" he asks. I smile, calm and at peace. "Nah, some ties are better left behind." "What about Dad?" "He said he was going to call you." "Some doors, once shut, need to stay that way," I say softly. After Ethan heads home, I cook that same roast Cassandra called Inedible a year ago. This time, it's just for me, and I savor every bite while looking over plans for my next adventure, a painting retreat on Spain's Costa Brava, where I've been invited to teach. Gazing out at Boston's twinkling lights, I realize true revenge wasn't selling the apartment or watching Ethan and Cassandra's marriage fall apart. It was rediscovering who I am, setting firm boundaries, and learning to put my happiness first. My phone rings, and it's Elise from the gallery with big news. A museum curator saw my work and wants to feature 2 pieces in an upcoming show of New England artists. As we talk details, I commit to plans that will shape the next year of my life, guided by my own choices. After we hang up, I pour a glass of wine and raise it to my reflection in the window. "To you, Amelia," I murmur, "the woman you were always meant to be." Outside, the first rain of the season starts to fall. I grab my sketchbook, eager to capture how the familiar landscape shifts into something fresh and beautiful, just like me. The doorbell chimes unexpectedly. It's Laura with a bottle of champagne, followed by Samuel carrying a small cake. "We heard about the museum exhibition," Laura says, beaming. "This deserves a celebration." As we sit in my kitchen, clinking glasses, Samuel asks a question I've been mulling over myself. "Did you ever think life could change this much at our age?" I think back to the woman I was a year ago, invisible even to myself, living only for others' needs. I think of the woman I'm becoming, artist, teacher, traveler, fully my own. Nope, I admit, but I'm thankful every day that it did. After my friends leave, I stand in my studio, gazing at the paintings for my solo show. Each one marks a step from being unseen to claiming my own identity. Every brushstroke is a quiet act of bravery. My phone buzzes with a text from Ethan, "Heard about the museum show. So proud of you, Mom. You've earned this." I smile at the simple words and what they mean, my son seeing me as a whole person, maybe for the first time. As midnight nears, I wrap a shawl around my shoulders and step onto my back porch, watching the rain turn my garden into a fresh canvas. Tomorrow, I'll start a new painting. Next month, I'll teach another class. This summer, I'll stand beside my work in a museum. The future lies ahead, wide open and entirely mine. Thank you, I whisper to the universe, grateful for the crisis that, though painful, set me free to live truly for the first time in decades. The rain keeps falling, coating everything in a new shine, a perfect symbol of the second chance I never saw coming and now treasure beyond words. Amelia Harper, once defined by everyone but herself, now lives on her own terms, and that, I've come to see, is the sweetest revenge of all.